Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Daniel from the Clergyman PHP of True Tabernacle Church Incorporated. I just wanted to thank all of our subscribers and our supporters. We run a small thrift store. We do yard sales, we do events, bake sales, basically anything we need to do to make sure the money is there that requires helping people. That's what we look at. And so we do basically anything that is able to draw in any type of funds that gives us the ability to help. No matter whether if it's helping with food and clothing, we do a lot of job placements for felons. We do job placements and housing for homeless. There's a lot that we do here in this country. As far as internationally, thank God we do reach about 9 different countries, about 22 locations. And so God is moving, and I want to thank you for any of the support, your prayers. Most of all, I thank you for your prayers, because prayers is what changes things. Prayers is what motivates, even in the spiritual realm. And so thank you so much for your prayers. I really appreciate the prayers, support, donations, anything that comes in. Thank you so much. What we're going to be speaking on in a few minutes will be the 7 steps of discipleship. This was a message that was first derived by our founder, Reverend Lee Sharp, back in 1989. So it was a long time ago. But there's something that is needed today as far as the ability for young ministers, young people desiring a place, a foundation in ministry. It's knowledge that you need to know that there's an order in God. When he said that doth not nature itself teach you. Okay, that should compute to us nowadays that anything that's worthwhile, we know, you're going to have to work for it. If you want to be a surgeon, then you know that you're going to have to go through years of, college, extensive, even apprenticeship. You're going to have to go through all kinds of things to be able to gain that title. And so sometimes we negate that part and think that we can obtain the ordinance of God just because we want it. And it's just because we want it and we pray for it, it's just going to immediately appear. And it just don't immediately appear. As nature does teach us that what you desire in the Spirit of the Lord, you first have to understand the biggest, is count the cost before you build. Simply because, like the old James Brown song that, I paid the cost to be the boss. Are you willing to pay the cost? As the 7 steps we're going into is discipleship. Number 1, starts along, that wavelength. And so we've got to make sure that, you've calculated what you're willing to give the Lord. You say, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. But you've also got to ask yourself, are you willing to give of yourself what's capable of fulfilling that what you're asking? And that's where capacity comes into play. Sometimes we ask God for something, but we don't make the capacity to receive it. When you ask God for a blessing, you you've got to make sure that you've got to make room to receive that blessing. Okay, for instance, if you're praying and you desire to be a missionary and that you want to travel abroad preaching the gospel, okay, number one, if you're praying for that, asking God to make a way for that, well, He told us to do all we can do, then stand. So, number one, if that's what you're praying for, you need to strengthen, you need to open your capacity up, even physically. So, if you're praying to be a missionary, you know that automatically you need to go and file out all the paperwork needed and do all the things needed because you need a passport. That's your part. There's no reason to ask God to bless you and open up doors for you to be a missionary if you've not taken the self-motivation, if you're not taking it on upon yourself to go ahead and get your passport so you can travel abroad. Because if God were to answer your prayer right then and say, well, let's go to, hey, I need you to be in Haiti to do a work or help with a mission, help with an orphanage. I need you to go to Africa to help with this orphanage. I need you to go, and then you're going to have to look at the Lord and say, well, okay, God, but you're going to have to let me get my passport first. That's something that we are in control of. And so if we choose to expand our capacity with God, we have to make sure that our capacity within ourselves is opened as well to receive the blessings that we're asking God for. He said He would give us the desires of our heart. And so, is your capacity open? Is there enough capacity to receive what God is giving you from what you have been asking Him for? The 7 Steps of Discipleship by Reverend Lee Sharp in 1989.